Oh, so Midnight Sky.
So Midnight Sky. Let's see what. Okay, let's have a description of this one. This post-apocalyptic tale follows Augustine, a lonely scientist in the Arctic, as he races to stop Sully and her fellow astronauts from returning home to a mysterious global catastrophe.
George Clooney, Felicity Jones, and more.
Yeah.
Is that a good description, do you think? I mean, it's kind of...
Yes, it is. It's I mean, what do you get into
I think it's
details
too
on
much.
this?
It's too much.
It's too much.
I think it should say, life-ending event happens, and this guy is lonely. See what happens. I don't know.
There you go. Yeah, you never know. I have to say that there was a scene in here that was amazing, and it is kind of interesting because it was such a personal. It was such a good effect for one thing, and it and yet it was so touching. There was something about it that was just really that was really deep. The whole film had that feeling. It really did. It had that deep kind of
it's not really it's not all about the end of the world.
Yeah,
it's about human relationships and how frail your body is, and
there's a certain
it's kind of depressing, and mistakes you can make that could affect you forever, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to be vague.
Yeah, vague enough for you?
Things you could do to other people that might screw them up as well as yourself.
That's called second marriage. Isn't it?
I wouldn't know.
I did like George Clooney in this.
Well, he directed this one.
Yeah, he did. It was the I mean, I don't want to give it away because how long has this been out?
It actually came out on Christmas Day.
And Christmas Day.
So when I think a couple weeks ago, I was like, hey, we should review this because it was #1 on Netflix, and I was trying to ride that wave. Like, oh, let's get it while it's hot.
But there's a scene in the middle of it that I have to say was that it had a great great effects, and
I'm not even sure what scene you're talking about because you're so vague.
There was a scene just inside of an airlock.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, I have a problem with something, but we can talk about that later.
Oh, there's so many things that I had problems with on this.
Well, for one, I think the soundtrack. So I was reading that he actually decided to make the soundtrack like follow emotions rather than have the soundtrack create emotions.
Yeah.
So like, I think it sounded kind of off. Like for me, it wasn't like it didn't really work for me. I don't think.
Yeah. No, I will agree with you on that. I also thought that in the end there was I didn't agree with. Well, like, I mean, what can I say? With the way it ends is only with two people on a ship, right?
Yeah.
As it turns around, when there were four on it, and you want to turn around and go, dude, really, you have a certain obligation here, right? It's the creation story is what it is.
Well, of course. Yeah.
And at that point you have a certain obligation to stick around and help out with the rebranding of civilization. And
yeah, which it's weird. So another thing that I found was that it was an accidental pregnancy. Like, well, it wasn't accidental. Like the Felicity Jones was pregnant, so they wrote it into the script, and it worked perfectly.
Oh yeah, no, it did more than work perfectly. It actually gave you it kind of became the anchor to a lot of the stuff that was going on in that show.
And it added mystery to it because there's some mystery with this one a little bit. I mean,
right,
it's not hard to figure out, but
yeah, it isn't. And I thought George Clooney's dying. It was just interesting that it was a taut little film.
Yeah. No, it was good. In fact, there's one scene I liked where he was looking at the map and it's like the toxic air is spreading, and then as he's getting sicker, it's like I kind of like how that like went together there. And I don't know, it was pretty depressing. But no, it was like, and then you're wondering like, okay,
what exactly happened, right?
Well, okay, maybe. But,
yeah, of course, there was a certain extra person that you did twig to immediately. Yeah. But no, it was a taut little thriller, and great. It was a classic sci-fi story.
Well, this is why I like sci-fi, because it's about human stories and human relationships. And,
right.
I mean, it makes you think about the values that you have yourself, and also your relationships, and how you treat each other, and what you're doing to your planet. Also, it's like
yeah.
But there might be a sliver of hope at the end. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, the fact that they were coming from this beautiful place, that I there was a dream sequence in there that was really cool.
Oh yeah, no, that was awesome.
And the look of it was really good. I mean, it was much better than to be believed to a certain extent, but and there was an element to it that I thought was kind of interesting, that there was a certain part of it where if you look at the nature of how things are being built with printers nowadays, right? And you looked at, if you follow the science, you realize that what we're going to wind up doing in the long run is we're going to wind up shipping materials up into space and making them there, and making ships and so forth there, probably using printers in space. As opposed to the cost of making things on the ground and sending them up there. I mean, an awful lot of things are going to be made in space and printed. And the funny thing about it is they captured that look a lot. Did you notice that?
Yeah, well, I was wondering if some of the things were printed like that.
But that's what I'm saying. Is there was kind of an element of a free form structural design that, by the way, didn't make any sense. But at the same time, it seemed like it could have been designed by an AI and printed immediately. With the space stresses involved,
I thought you were going to say it reminded you of that movie with Farrah Fawcett. What's it called?
Saturn no.
with the tubes and the
Saturn 5 or whatever.
There was some tubing in this one.
There was.
And I was like, uh-oh.
There's a bit of, but if you looked at the gun, when he was holding a gun, right, at one point, and the handle of the gun, and the parts of the gun were truly printed, and they were printed in a save. It's sort of like if you press a button on a computer and said, you do the engineering and save as much material as you can. So it was oddly Swiss cheesed, and that design kind of went through everything there.
Yeah,
and I just love the drama of it. The drama of it just really caught me. And the thing is I usually I was not excited as much by the Swedish film that we looked at. Had very much the same story to it.
Right. Yeah.
It had, it's funny because that story had a very Swedish coolness to it, I mean, it's cold, and this kind of didn't have that cold. It had a certain amount of warmth to it, that I really appreciated.
Yeah, it was pretty bright. I mean, a lot of the scenes were bright.
Yeah.
Oh, what was I going to say about Mars? Oh, Mars. So, yeah, it's the most important star you can find your way home using Mars. When I was a kid, I learned that it was North Star. It was Polaris that you had
Polaris.
to
Well, they brought up Polaris too, though.
follow. I know. I know. Anyway, I was just like, wait, what?
The problem with Mars is Mars moves around a lot, so you gotta. It's like,
it's
well,
not
wait.
That's what I'm saying, George. It's not Mars. It's freaking Polaris. I was a Boy Scout. I know what I'm talking about.
That's right.
Anyway,
so
I even got a merit badge. They dumped me off in the woods, and they made me use a compass to find my way back. And I actually managed to do it. My wilderness survival merit badge. I had to sleep outside overnight. It was really freaking cold.
Ooh.
Yeah, I had to make my own shelter, start my own fire with a stick and a rock.
I want to tell a story.
Oh, okay.
I do.
Well, actually, before you tell a story, what
Okay.
is it? Your story relates to this movie, right? I just have a couple more things
not
to
at
say.
all. Not in the least.
I have a couple more things to say about
Okay,
this
go ahead.
movie. So, back in 1959, there was a movie called On the Beach, and it had Gregory Peck and Ava Gardner. Do you know why that matters?
What?
Because Gregory Peck's grandson, Ethan Peck, plays a young Augustine in this film.
Really? He does?
Yeah, he plays George Clooney's younger self.
Oh, yeah.
Ethan Peck, his grandson.
And by the way, I might add that that those particular parts and roles were terrible.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, really, the flashbacks in this were so subpar because, for one thing, they were like the writers couldn't have spent more than 5 minutes drafting the whole thing out, right? You know, it's because it's like if you'd seen it before, well, you're gonna see it again.
Well, yeah. Well, they had half a day to shoot it, probably. I mean, come on.
Yeah, they must have been. Because it was like setting up his bad youthful
His bad
choices,
decisions. Yeah.
right? You know, it's like just the most typical broad strokes you've ever seen in your life.
It went TV movie for a while.
It really did. It really did. Every time, and then it was like, oh god, they're having another flashback again. It honestly looked like Telly Savalas.
It was like watching Family Guy. Not really.
It was no. It was way back. It was like watching that '70s show if it was really done in the '70s.
Yeah. Well, okay. The tie-in though with this movie On the Beach was that it was an end of the world film. That was what was cool about it.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I like that they tied in the grandson, and I mean, obviously, Clooney must have thought all that through or something. But I did have one question for you because you are an expert with bloody things.
Yes.
And what do you think about? I mean, digital blood, really? And it doesn't really hit the face when you take something off. Uh-oh. He locked up there. Oh.
Yeah, I did because it has to do with how moisture sticks to you. The question that you have is would the surface tension completely hold it in a ball? In other words, because I don't know, I've seen water in a ball, but I don't think I've seen it.
Right.
I think that the surface tension of it kind of makes it very difficult for it to lose it onto something else. You know.
Well, I'm also talking about when you take the thing off.
Yeah.
I don't want to say too much.
Yeah.
What happens to it afterwards? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It didn't look right.
But it looked amazing.
It did look cool. I mean, it looked cool in the thing. It looked cool, but then once that thing was not there, it wasn't cool.
Well, it almost looked like a horror film the way that they pulled it off at the end. You know.
Yes.
Yeah, it was everywhere. It really was reminiscent of a horror film.
Yeah. Well, I'd rate this actually, I was surprised that I liked it that much because halfway through when they started doing the flashback scenes, I'm like, oh.
I would go 3.5. I'm gonna go 3.5 because I
got into the story. In fact, I wasn't even paying attention to the pipes in the background. I was like, oh, I'm into this until the thing.
You didn't. You weren't paying attention to the pipes.
No.
I can't. I wanted to tell you a little something that happened It's out of the middle of nowhere, but I this is really interesting. A story with a great deal of hope. When I was working on a film called Mr. Christmas Dinner, I had a saxophone that I would take out and I would play on set, like at between 3 and 5 in the morning when nobody was around, and I was trying to break my head loose to design and deal with the effects and stuff like that, and so that I had always played my horn on set when I was just trying to think, and I had this old professional 50s. It's a 50s sax. It's a Busher Super 400, which is it's a professional level 50s, and it's a saxophone that has that real John Coltrane heavy, or not the gone more Coleman Hawkins kind of low heavy tone that was really popular in the late 40s and the early 50s, right? And I had the sax, and I was I was out on the stage probably at 4:30, and the catering guys were coming in. They were coming in to set up, and they had a guy with them that just a thin, probably 10 years older than I was, and he was a horn player. And he came up to me and says, "Oh, that's a cool version of Ain't Misbehaving. You should hear my version of it." And then he proceeded to just smoke me and blow me away, right? And then we got to talking about horns, and he goes, "Yeah, I have a couple of gigs to play this week." He says, "But my horn just got stolen out of the back of the truck here, just man. Today." And he was like freaking out about it. And, he had like a super nice French Selmer or something like that. And so I said, well, this must have been like 1986 or 87, something like that. And so I said, well, here's my phone number. Why don't you just take the sax and I just play around with it, and you obviously can play it a lot better than I can. Just take it, and so he was no way, I'm not going to do that, and eventually I talked him into it, right? And I think that I talked him into it probably by loading it into the back of the catering vehicle when they left it at the end of the day.
Right.
But he got the horn, and and there was a note with it, and I told everybody to get it to him, and so I didn't hear from him or the horn again for about 15 years. Okay. And all I got was this cryptic note that says, "Hey, it's from somebody had come by, saw me on a set, and handed me this note that was from him, and said that he had he knew that he owed me the horn and stuff, but times were bad, and da 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 da." So cut to last week. I get a message from somebody, and in the meantime, I've forgotten his name, his number, or that he ever owned the horn. It's completely just, I was really busy at the time, and it's like one thing drives out the another. And I got a note from a guy that says, "Hey, is this Mick Strawn, who's working on a film called Mr. Christmas Dinner in 1987?" And I and I said, and I just wrote back, I said, "You wouldn't perchance have my horn, would you?" And he goes, "Yes, I do." And so I said, "You know what? I'll take it back." He's retired. and he, I said, I'll take it back, but you have to tell me the story of the horn, the history of the horn, and everything that, all the back story on it for the last 33 years. And he's been writing to me, and I guess immediately from that night on, he immediately got a job with Amtrak. He moved to the Seattle area, and he was a porter between Seattle and Chicago run, right? And so he would get into Chicago and have a couple of days off as the train just went on further, and then came back, and he'd catch it on the way back. And so he played with all these great people in Chicago, for 15 years. He was a porter for 15 years. And he finally retired from that, and he had like another job. But the fact that it has just this, because he was a will-o-the-wisp kind of a super thin black guy that, he had a real, you just had that lean into it, feel on the horn. And it's almost like, before he would play the sax, before he would start playing, you could see the notes in the air around him when he was holding the sax,
Oh, wow.
And the fact that he was a porter on the train, and that he would wind up in Chicago for 2 or 3 nights every week. And he wrote down all these people that he'd play with with that horn. And it's a trip.
Wow.
But isn't that a wild story?
That is wild.
So that's 33 years.
Wow. Yeah. I thought there'd be a punchline like he wrote you thanks for the sex. And you were like, what? Sex?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sex. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess the punchline is that he's written the story, and the sax is on his way back to me.
Wow. That's awesome.
Isn't that wild? So,
well, no, that's a good, that shows your humanity, because you gave him the saxophone.
My humanity.
I know what little you have.
It shows my inability to hold on to things. This is what it is.
Brown Space Films.
Because I've always been that kind of like, wait, oh, you really like this? It's cool, isn't it? Here, you take it.
Or the backstory is you were frustrated because you couldn't play it well enough.
Yeah, well, yeah, especially when he played it, I was like, Urgh.
Yeah, I know that. I'd probably feel the same way.
Yeah.
Oh, look here.
Look here.
Take my Stratocaster. I don't care.
So anyway, I just thought that would just give everything a little bit of a boost.
And this kind of like this movie. The Midnight Sky had hope in it too.
It did have hope in it. Yeah.
A little sliver.
Yeah, a little.
It's like a little tiny slice of pie because everybody's on vacation or on trying to lose weight. Is that what it is? Everybody's trying to lose weight right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a good story.
Yeah, not bad, huh? Kind of different. Yeah, it blew me away. I gotta tell you.
Take this saxophone and think about me when you blow on it.
Wow. God, that took a dark turn.
Sorry.
Jesus. God damn it, I'm leaving.
Oh, goodness. I wouldn't blame you.
Yeah, I'm gone.
He's gone too, apparently.
It's sneaking there in the background.
So I have a story to tell you. It's a off topic, but you know how? So I record on Zoom, right? And then I have a backup where I'm recording my Audacity. I'm recording my voice just in case, and I usually use that. I don't even use the Zoom because it sounds better.
Right.
Because it's basically straight from my microphone.
Right.
And then I also have a backup for the video and your audio just in case.
Right.
It doesn't always work right.
Right.
But I noticed when you were in the middle of your story, I'm like, uh-oh, I don't see the recording thing in the corner. So I start recording it. So I'm like, Luckily, I have a backup.
As soon as you said that, I looked over and I realized, oh, my Tascam isn't recording.
Oh no!
So you and I both did the same thing.
And I was going to ask you if you'd recorded because, like, at the beginning of you were kind of cutting in and out for a while. So I was like, well, if he has the audio and the video's frozen, I can at least use the audio. But
we're just gonna have to trust Zoom.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But it's not as bad as that one time where I was like, we went through the whole review for 40 minutes, and I was like, oh yeah,
got to
record.
Turn on the.
So we turned it into like a 5-minute, like really
absolutely, absolutely my favorite. That was so hilarious, and I just remember us being really tired. Oh God.
But we remembered everything we said, so that worked out.
There you go. It's good.